Welcome back, everybody. Hopefully, you guys are having a wonderful time. My name is Anthony Weaver, and I am the host of the About That Water podcast. And what we got here today is that I'm going to do a recap for the podcast movement because one of the things I love more than talking about money and how to save some money is actually networking with a lot of people. So, as those of you who know me, I enjoy helping you build strong financial habits, but also helping you connect you with the right people that you need to do in order for you to be successful. So let's go on and dive right into it. Got to get paid. So let's go on and get to my website intro. Hold on. You're listening to the About That Water podcast. We'll be right back after these messages.
Low credit score dragging you down? Score Boost by Smart Credit helps you maximize your score by showing you exactly how much you need to pay off and by which date to gain the most points. Pay less and gain the most points the fastest. And you can start just for $1. Click the link in the bio, save thousands. Don't wait.
Even the best and the brightest this world has to offer have coaches and mentors. Build strong money-making behaviors by applying financial concepts and strategies with Anthony Weaver on the About That Wallet Show. It's time to get off the bench and get in the game. Now, here's your host, Anthony Weaver.
Well, what up? So one of the things that I actually had the awesome opportunity to do is actually go to a conference called Podcast Movement. And this is a lovely podcast conference where all podcasters kind of meet together and we just kind of chit chat and talk about all the stuff behind the scenes, or BTS, as some of you like to call it. And one of the things about having such interesting understanding of how all of that is that, you know, we just kind of sit around and learn more about the community, try to build the community, make each other a little better by sharing our tips and tricks. Now, Podcast Movement is just a major conference and community of podcasters, podcast industry professionals, and enthusiasts. It also provides a platform for networking, education, and collaboration within the podcast industry. So if you are brand new or not even sure where to go with podcasting, or you just kind of like you're a good podcaster, but you just want to make it better, this is the place for you. The event features like workshops, panel discussions, keynote speeches, and also expo showcases of the largest podcasting tools, technologies, and services. And when I mean the largest, I'm talking about like the Edison Research Company. You're looking at iHeartRadio or somebody along those lines that would actually help take the back end tools and analytics of all the podcasts across the world. And actually they come to this particular event to share with everybody how everything works. And because of that, Podcast Movement is designed to support podcasters at all levels, from beginners to seasoned professionals, and it often hosts multiple events throughout the year in different locations. And what do they mean by that? Well, some of you guys know that I already spoke at Podcast Movement Evolutions earlier this year. And I kind of talked about how that was more about the industry track. Now, when I did Podcast Movement, just the movement itself in DC, it was a different feel, a different vibe. It was a lot of people in there. I'll say at least it felt like 2,200 people easily, because some people I could see them one day and I won't see them for the rest of the day. Like, that's how huge this conference was. So then you're like, well, how did this all start? Because maybe if you want to start your own. Well, Podcast Movement started by Jared Easley and Dan Franks in 2014. They launched the conference with the goal of creating a dedicated event for podcasters to connect, learn, and grow their craft. The first Podcast Movement event was funded through a successful Kickstarter campaign, and it has since grown into one of the largest and most influential podcasting conferences in the world. So when these conferences that I'm going into, is like these are the things that I'm trying to actually increase the brand, increase my reach, try to do different things with my show, and actually help me understand what it is that I'm doing and making sure that I'm providing the most value for your ears, because usually I'm in your ears, or even in your car speakers or in your TV screen. And these are the things that I would like to share. So then you'd be like, well, who should really attend this conference? I don't have a podcast, but I know some of the podcasters that I listen to. Is this something for me? Well, let's kind of take a look. So, podcast movement is really ideal for the aspiring podcasters, like those of you who are just podcasting and want to learn how to start or even launch and grow your podcast. You have some people who are just established podcasters like myself, who are experienced podcasters looking to refine their skills, grow their audience, and connect with their industry peers. Then you have some of those who are the podcast industry professionals. Now, these individuals are working in the podcasting related fields, such as podcasters, editors, marketers, and advertisers, who have updated on the industry trends and also network with others. So most of the times these are like other companies that are looking to kind of get more people on their product or on their platform, if so you'll say. Because there are several people I met that were actually like, hey, I got a podcast network. Oh yeah, you got a podcast network? I got one too. And then they not try to, I actually was openly making my show available on those different platforms, because as we all know, podcasting is a popularity contest. So I want to just say thank you all for signing up for the YouTube channel, because I'm actually at 505, and I cannot thank you so much for being part of this community, and it's been really helping me grow and understand this craft. And thank you all for being part of this journey. And I want to continue on to keep bringing out some awesome content, bringing on some amazing guests. But again, we got to get back to the people who want to come to these type of conferences. So you're also looking for brands and businesses. This is like the last fifth, I guess, group of people that would actually come up to these conferences, which are companies that are interested in understanding how podcasting can enhance their brand visibility and communication strategies. So one of the things that I did notice is that there are a lot of brands there, and they're looking for brand awareness. And one of the ways that they can do brand awareness is by sponsoring podcast episodes. Now, if you got 2,000 people and you're one person, even if you have $1 for each person, just kind of say like, hey, I'll give you $1 to place an ad on your show for my product. Now, keep in mind, not everybody's going to sit well with that, because us as podcast hosts, we have to look out for our guests, our listeners. This is our job, to make sure that we're providing as much value to you. Now, understand like this isn't going to be typical for all of my audience, but a lot of you have asked me, how do you start a podcast? Where should I go if I want to go to learn more about podcasting? This is one of those events. So now we're just going to take over to the next topic, which is about, what should you expect when you attend this conference? Well, podcast movement has created such a dynamic and immersed experience, which includes educational sessions. So these sessions have like workshops, they got panels and keynote sessions, and they covering like a wide range of topics from podcast production, marketing, monetizing, audience growth, and industry trends. One of the ones that I really love is during the keynote session was where they were talking about how to actually change the language around your podcast. Do you call it a podcast or do you call it a show? And these are the things you need to think about. Like, what do you really want to call it? And actually keeping the naming convention of your show just plain and simple so people can find it. Now, number 2 is you can talk about the network opportunities. you know, this is what you're this is the main reason why I go, is because I love the networking opportunities regarding the numerous opportunities to connect with fellow podcasters, industry professionals, and potential collaborations through networking events, meetups, and social events. And because of these uh, conferences that I go to, I've noticed that there's been an uptake on people that want to be a guest on my show. Now, granted, my show is for everybody. So if you're listening to this and you always just wanted to share your story, but you don't want to show your face, it's okay. I will record it. It'll just be strictly audio, and you can have like a little audiogram, like little waves or something like that while we're talking. It's completely fine because most podcasts are strictly audio anyway. I just happen to be on YouTube that you can check out. Now, some people like the access to industry leaders because I know for me, I could say to be selfish is that I was actually looking at different hosting platforms so that I can figure out like which host should host my show. And I wanted to know, like, do they have dynamic ads? How much it costs per month? What are you doing for your content creators to kind of help market their product? What are you doing to add value to the podcast community? These are the things that I'm asking the people at the booth so that I would know, like, hey, when I move my podcast over, I know that they're in good hands. I know that my listeners can still gravitate towards the content and that we can continue to grow the show. So these are the things that I'm always looking for. They also have an expert hall in here, which is a showcase of the latest podcast tools, technology, software, and services. So you actually get the chance to explore and demo some of these new products. Now they had a cool booth, not even a booth. They just had brand new mics out there. They had the new mixing tables. And I was like, wow, these are the things that I would like to see, how they're going to push the sound quality to your ears, into my ears. And if you can actually pick up the difference between somebody who's using a quality mic and just not really caring about what they can provide. For me right now, I'm actually trying this 4K camera for the first time, for those of you who are watching on YouTube. So the video is going to be a little off. I'm still playing around with the lighting because I'm not used to being seen in like my true form. 4K picks up everything. Like I'm sure you can see like the sweat beads on my head right now. It's ridiculous. But also they have an inspiration and motivation. So this is where they talk about like the stories of success, the challenges, and the creativities from different speakers and attendees. So they had something called a brain date session, where it's like a small session of like maybe no more than 10 people. But what you do, you have the opportunity to sit down with somebody and actually have that one-on-one conversations, all of your questions and everything like that taken care of or answered. Now, I love that process because that's where I spoke at, and I had an amazing time. I got to meet some great new people, and we got some answers. But my talk was mostly about, burnout when you're podcasting. This thing is a second job almost if you're not careful with your time, with your loved ones, and with your personal brand. You can actually hurt yourself. So I like to say, like some of the takeaways that I have to say from this conference is that one, you have to make sure that you're constantly pushing out your brand to anybody. Take a moment, listen. And what I might do for the next conference, if I have time to, I would actually have business cards on what my podcast is about and talk about like the social media handles and stuff like that, so that I don't have to keep repeating myself. Everything is on that business card. Now, most people think of a business card like, hey, it's a contact card and blah, blah, blah. But if you really spell out what the show is about on that business card, when you hand it out, they not only have your connection, they already know what you're about. So when they go to look to have you on the show or even interview you, or if you want to have more guests, they already know what your talking points are. They already know what's going on. So these are the things that I thought was a great takeaway from this particular conference. Now, some of you were like, all right, Anthony, this was great and cool and all, but how much does it cost? So for 2024, the standard pass was $219. They got the plus pass at $419 and a pro pass at $519. So you had options to go to different workshops. You got access to different things. As a speaker, I had access to the same things as a pro pass member. So like you got like a little area to kind of have snacks, take a break, sit down, drink some coffee, catch up on things, and actually like a plug-in station so I can really relax. Versus if you just had the standard pass, you just kind of fend for yourself along the wall, try to find a plug somewhere, or hang out in the lobby of the hotel just to kind of get some juice. But ultimately, you want to make sure you get some one of those battery packs. This has been really helpful. So now I'm going to talk about these events because these events were amazing. We went through Top Golf that was hosted by iHeartRadio, and we had a ball. I didn't realize on how much fun it would have been, but when you have great conversation and everybody can resonate with what's going on, I think it was amazing time. I truly, truly, truly highly recommend checking it out. So one of the things that I had to say that got me going was mostly because I was able to catch up with some of my fellow podcasters from prior events, or even in like different podcast arenas, and it was just so cool. So I have to say that I would like to go back. I would say that, you know, if you're on the fence of going to a podcast conference and you're looking to meet other podcasters, just really want to dive into the world of podcasting, I would say this event is one of the events that I say that you have to check out. I was even able to meet David Shands, who is a host of Sleep is for Suckers. It was pretty cool to see him out mingling because a lot of people didn't know who he was. But most of the people in the Black and Brown community knew who he was because his content that he's been providing and pushing out there is mostly for the people, by the people, if that makes sense. And really trying to push the narrative of like, hey, we actually doing dope things out here, and showcasing and highlighting what people are doing. So him and Donnie are doing a great job with that podcast, Sleep is for Suckers. So if y'all want to check that out, go for it. Now, this one thing I do want to show, I want to end off this show this episode was to let you all know that if you haven't already, go ahead on and subscribe to the show. If you're a first time listener, go ahead on and share it with somebody that is looking to get into podcasting and looking for a place to go. And then lastly, I'll have to say that, you know, whatever you're doing, please continue to do it. You're doing amazing work, and don't give up on yourself no matter what anybody else is saying. So this next clip I'm going to play that is already on my Instagram channel. I cannot play the music because of copyright issues. Everybody want to get a copyright, right? Sucks. So I am going to play my own music, and y'all just going to have to enjoy it, because it is what it is. Let's see if I can play it with some music. Now, for those of you who are listening, I'm sorry, it's just going to be about like 2 minutes. But for those of you who are watching, hopefully enjoy the clip.
Podcast Movement 2020.
Let's meet some of the many great people and events to attend.
right. So I have to say that I just want to thank you all from the bottom of my heart for supporting the show and continue to thrive, because it's going to be a lot of solo me for a little bit. So now we'll be providing some of this information as a, definitely you need to check this out. And what I will do is be doing a little bit more, you know, behind the scenes, what it means to have money, how to navigate, uh, life a little bit more now that you got some extra income. And plus, the holidays are coming up. So we got to talk about your spending habits. We got to talk about back to school. We got to talk about how in the world are you actually going to be able to provide for your family come this winter? Because, hey, Yogi Bear didn't get all his picnic baskets during the winter. He was hibernating. So we got to make it happen. All right, everybody. Y'all be safe. Amen. And peace. Do I got my outro music? There we go. So, all right, everybody. Y'all be safe. Y'all.